is here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, everybody. Mark Levin, our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Congressional committees are busy issuing reports this evening on how Holder misled Congress, how Clapper misled Congress. Meanwhile, they don't do anything about it. They don't use the power of the purse to punish any agencies, to address any programs, because, you see, that would be foolish, we're told. But more on that in a moment. I'm proud to report something to you. I'm happy to report something to you. The conservative, constitutional, and liberty coalition that we are talking about and building in this country, you and me, not rallying around me, not in my name, but all of you. It's growing. It's growing. You now hear more and more radio hosts and some television hosts. We're not, obsessing over sideshows. Challenging the Republican establishment. They weren't even doing this weeks ago. Demanding defunding of Obamacare. They were perfectly happy with these phony votes. But now they see. And questioning the collection of private information on citizens, which 2 months ago I said it's starting to look like a police state, for which I was attacked. The real echo chamber. Here we are. Here we are. The real echo chamber. This is why I used to call this show really the early morning show for the next day. And so we're going to continue to do this. I was on Neil Cavuto's show yesterday, and I told you I don't play my appearances on TV. It's kind of weird. And I'm not going to play my appearances on TV. And yet, my buddy Neil Cavuto replayed my appearance on his show today from yesterday for Rand Paul to get a reaction from him, but also Darrell Issa. Darrell Issa, who's chairman of one of the committees, who's looking into the IRS scandal. And I said yesterday, look, these committee chairmen, they're tripping all over each other. They don't have the proper resources. Their committee staffs are not 100% committed to this because they're doing other things. The Ways and Means Committee, the Judiciary Committee, the House Oversight Committee, they're not all focused in a singular way on the IRS scandal. We've got multiple committees investigating Benghazi. You cannot run investigations in Congress this way. And you have to bring the best investigators and prosecutors who have real live experience, criminal law experience, into these investigations. So you don't conduct investigations this way. And yet we are. So Neil Cavuto asked Darrell Issa about this. I don't have any problem one way or another with Darrell Issa. But I have a problem with the way this investigation is taking place, as I do with the Benghazi investigation. And as they say, the proof is in the pudding. Yes, we get little information leaked here and there, but that's not the point. It's not about little information leaked here and there, and then memories turn old and the public turns bored, and here we are. You have to set up the proper investigative apparatus to get to the bottom of these things. And then, when you have a laser-focused committee investigating this, not 5, 1, with subpoena power, then you can send an interrogatory to the President of the United States. Then you can ratchet up the pressure. Then you can draw more attention from the public. And then you can put pressure on Holder to appoint a special prosecutor. Whether he will or not, it becomes part of the debate. I know this is how it works because it's worked this way since Watergate. Actually, since before that. So here is Cavuto. You won't hear me, I don't think. Here is Cavuto asking Darrell Issa, in part, about what I said. Cut 7, go.
My next guest is one of those Republicans leading an investigation into probably one of the bigger scandals, the IRS, the House Oversight Committee Chairman Darrell Issa. Mr. Chairman, good to have you. What do you make of that argument? And Levin really crystallizes it among more angry conservatives within the party that it's your party, it's your speaker that's sort of stonewalling this. What do you think?
Well, I guess he just hasn't been in the meetings in which the speaker has said, you know, Darrell, use all the resources you need, get it done.
Stop. Darrell, you don't even understand what I'm talking about. You don't even understand what I'm talking about. Darrell, use all the resources you have, get it done. The problem is all the resources you have are not focused exclusively on the IRS investigation. And, Darrell, you're not the only one. There are other chairmen looking into this. That's the problem. There's no need to be defensive. There's no need to be hostile with me. I'm trying to tell you how to get this done. I dealt with the Democrats when they had their Iran-Contra committee. You're not doing this properly. No, I wasn't in on the meeting when you guys were talking. How about that? But why are you so defensive? Go ahead.
Importantly, he hasn't lived through over 43 hours worth of depositions of people directly related to Benghazi.
Stop. So he's investigating Benghazi and the IRS? Is that right, Mr. Producer? And more. So he makes my point. His committee, among other things, is investigating Benghazi, the IRS scandal. There needs to be one committee investigating each scandal with staffers properly focused exclusively on the one scandal. The guy makes my point, and he doesn't even realize he's making my point. Instead, he's very defensive. I'm glad there are over 43 hours of depositions of people directly related to Benghazi. We still don't know 8.5 hours of what Obama did. Are you going to issue interrogatories to Obama? No, you're not. Not until I put enough pressure on and you folks put enough pressure on, then they'll do it, and then they'll say, see, we're doing it. Go ahead.
Now have about 5 times as much time per witness as the ARB, as the State Department had in their investigation. We're taking real time. These people are under oath. And I'll tell you, I'll put my investigators who do this day in and day out, year in and year out, against anybody.
All right, stop. You see, he's missing the point, folks. See, what you're trying to do, it's not people who have long-term congressional experience. It's people who have investigative and prosecutorial experience on the criminal side. They're the ones that we need. This has to be ratcheted up. So they set the stage for potential criminal prosecutions at some point. And that's not been done. It's not being done. He's on Benghazi. He's on the IRS. Oh, look, we've spent more time on this and at the State Department. I know. And where the hell are we getting with this? CNN just interviewed the guy who allegedly is the top terrorist involved in the attack on our consulate, the murder of 4 people. CNN. Not this committee. Not the FBI. Not the NSA. Not the CIA. CNN, for God's sakes. Go ahead.
Ones that made sure that the lie about Benghazi got turned into the truth, that there never was some sort of a video.
Stop. Oh, no, you weren't. We all knew that from day one, Congressman. You didn't, now you're patting yourself on the back for things you didn't do. With all due respect. And I'm not even really attacking what you're doing. I'm attacking the way this has been organized institutionally. It's Keystone Cops with different committees overlapping each other. It's a waste of resources. It's not focused. This isn't brain surgery. This has been done before. Go ahead.
The ones that proved that it wasn't Cincinnati. It went to Washington.
That's enough. You're the ones that prove that, pal. Really? All right. He proved that it wasn't just Cincinnati, but the IRS itself was. And, of course, he's the one that probably got the Inspector General at the Treasury Department to investigate this, not Landmark Legal with its formal complaint when two of their agents came and visited me and interviewed me, and they were packing heat. Not because I was in trouble or anything. It was just very odd, I thought. Right. You did that, too, I guess, Congressman. Your reaction is all too familiar for a guy that's been in Washington a long time. And yet, you guys who've been in Washington a long time, you apparently missed something. See, the Democrats know how to conduct investigations. Apparently you don't. One special committee with exclusive jurisdiction, with top-notch investigators, including people with criminal, investigative, and prosecutorial experience. Resources committed exclusively to getting to the bottom of this. This is why it's dragging on. This is why you folks don't know which committee's doing what. How can you? This is why Frank Wolf on the Benghazi matter has insisted, as have a majority of the Republicans in the House of Representatives, that we have one committee investigating Benghazi. Wow, you uncovered. It wasn't the video, see, ladies and gentlemen, that caused the attack on our compound in Benghazi. None of us knew that but for this committee investigation. No. It wasn't a couple of IRS revenue agents in Cincinnati who were going after the Tea Party and so forth. No. And this committee determined that. Is this it? Is that the best they can do? We already knew that. Anyway. One more cut. Cut 8. Go.
All right, but bottom line, just to put these doubts to rest, if they are there or legitimate, you're saying when it comes to guidance from the leadership, from the Speaker, from our candidate, no one is saying, all right, this is going nowhere. Why don't you cool it?
I've got complete support of the leader and the Speaker. They have helped me all along the way.
What you're not getting help from is from the IRS Commissioner, right? That's what's bothering you.
Look, absolutely. This administration is the least transparent in history. They're making it very clear that what they said, they don't do. They deny, they deceive, they delay.
Right, we know all that. So what are you doing about it? What are you going to do about it? What would a prosecutor, what would somebody with extensive criminal investigative experience do about it? What would they do about it? See, folks, you can start from the bottom up, but you can also simultaneously go from the top down. This committee is not going to issue interrogatories to the President of the United States. You want to know why, Mr. Producer? They're too scared. They will issue interrogatories, they will depose, but they will not go to the Oval Office. They don't know how to do it, and they're afraid to try. I'm not putting down Mr. Issa. He's awfully defensive. I don't know why. I'm trying to give him some advice as somebody who's been there and done that. You conduct an investigation in the House and in the Senate the way I described. It's been done over and over again. You build public pressure for the appointment of a special prosecutor. You haven't done that. And so here we are. And here we'll stay. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Well, to show you why we need people who are so committed to liberty and the Constitution, and we need to kind of brush out the existing Republicans. Here's Senator Saxby Chambliss of Georgia on MSLSD today. First of all, I don't think any self-respecting conservative would be on MSLSD, would they? The conga line of lunatics there. But nonetheless, there he was. And I want you to listen to him. Tell me, you know this issue. Tell me if he makes sense to you. Cut 2, go.
Well, I appreciate Ted Cruz's enthusiasm and whatnot, but you and I...
Hold on, stop right there. That cackling in the background is Joe Scarborough. Rewind this thing. Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski are two of the most damnable people on TV. Two of the dumbest people on TV. But they're constantly trashing conservatives. And Scarborough is the worst of the bunch. Scarborough. He's been, what should I say? He's been bipolitical for a long time. Is that a good way to put it, Mr. Producer? Yeah, Scarborough's bipolitical. He can go both ways when it comes to politics. Some days he pretends to be a conservative Republican. Some days he pretends to be something else. So he's bipolitical. So listen carefully to the cackling in the background, because Scarborough isn't half the man that Ted Cruz is, and he's jealous as hell. Go ahead.
Well, I appreciate Ted Cruz's enthusiasm and whatnot, but you and I know Tom Coburn. Yes. You and I know the other conservatives that came in '94, some of whom are still in the Senate now. And we've been down that road. We shut down the government, and we got our butts kicked over shutting down the government.
This is a very dumb man, this Saxby Chambliss. We didn't get our butts kicked. I've put this information out so often now that other hosts are repeating it. The fact of the matter is, we gained 2 Senate seats. We lost 9 House seats and retained the majority significantly because we had gained in the prior election cycle for the House, over 50 seats. So there were some weak, soft seats that we were going to lose anyway. So we lost 9 House seats and held on to a strong majority in the House, and we won 2 Senate seats. So how did we get our butts kicked? Where's the cackling moron, the morning schmo? Ha, 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 ha! Like he's sitting on a cucumber. Maybe he is. He's got that look on his face, doesn't he, Mr. Producer? Yes. But how would I know? So, Mr. Chambliss, you don't even know what the hell you're talking about. And as for Tom Coburn, he went soft a long time ago. Oh, yes, he did. Sorry, Senator. I know they listen as they drive home. Free to call in. Lines are open for you. I'll be right back.
Right versus left is right versus wrong. Call Mark at 877-381-3811.
Look at that. Lewinsky sex recording to Bill Clinton surfaces. I'll leave that to the backbenchers to handle that one. And then they'll tell you about their dismay about it after they spend 3 hours talking about it. I think I'll pass on that one. I'll just leave it to them. Now, CNSnews.com, one of the great news sources out there, they have a ForAmerica.org ad against Mitch McConnell. Because conservatives, constitutionalists, have had enough. We are trying to strengthen the backbone of these Republicans, and you can hear it more and more on talk radio. I've been hammering away at this for months and months and months. And folks, I think because of you, it's having an effect, not so much on the Republicans, but on the backbenchers in my business. But it's a good ad. And now, Mitch McConnell has an opponent. And in the days ahead, in the Republican primary, I'll let you know more about this individual. And the people of Kentucky can decide for themselves. But I'm starting to think the Republican leader in the Senate is John McCain, because John McCain is out there leading on every issue. Now, don't get me wrong, he's leading us in the wrong direction. Wrong way John actually accidentally walked into the Democrat caucus today where Obama was meeting with them. Oops, I made a mistake. And they gave him an ovation. I think they gave him an ovation because they felt he should be with them. Or because he figured out how to open a door. I don't know. But I want you to hear this ad that ForAmerica.org is playing now in Kentucky. Hat tip CNS News, cut 4, go.
The chicken, or Gallus gallus domesticus, is common domestic fowl. In American slang, the chicken represents a coward. The chicken is also representative of a new breed of Republicans in Washington. They tend to say one thing.
Obamacare should be repealed, root and branch.
But when confronted with an opportunity to act, they often run, far away, without a sense of direction. Take Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. On the issue of Obamacare, he says,
"This law is a disaster, and I want you to know we're not backing down from this fight."
But when he has the chance to defund Obamacare, some say he is chickening out. Senator McConnell, conservatives don't need a chicken when it comes to Obamacare. Leaders lead. But if you fund it, you own it.
Now, how many shows have played that ad today? I don't know. I can't listen to all of them. Nor do I want to. But how many shows? Probably none? Or a handful? No, don't worry, folks. I'll wind up dragging them where they need to be. They're just a little cowardly. They're a little timid. But, folks, if we don't defeat these rhinos, these Republicans, as I call them, we can't get to the Democrats. Now, this is at the national level. We have a whole plan, as many of you know, for addressing this generally. But from the top-down national level, these are the things that have to be done. When you have a guy like Saxby Chambliss going on MSLSD to the cackling whines of a Joe Scarborough, getting 1995 exactly wrong, and the man was there in 1995, that's problematic. It's very problematic. Now, what are they going to do about Obama making it quite clear that he is going to use what he considers the power of the presidency to conduct himself as the imperial president I've been calling him? Let me even emphasize this further. Obama is an imperial president, but he's also a soft despot. That is, he's not, like Mugabe in Zimbabwe and so forth, or Castro in Cuba, or what the hell was that former cab driver's name in Venezuela, or Putin in Russia and so forth. But for our country, under our system, he is exercising a soft despotism. Listen to this from Politico. President Barack Obama is planning to bypass congressional Republicans with a surge of executive actions and orders on issues like voting rights, health care, job creation, the economy, climate change, and immigration. And this time he really, really, really means it. Really, writes Edward Isaac DeVore. Obama started sell his pitch to congressional Democrats, meeting with caucus groups at the White House and going to the Hill on Wednesday morning this morning to speak with House and Senate Democrats. Quote, "I have to figure out what I can do outside of Congress through executive actions," Obama told the Congressional Black Caucus earlier this month. "He's very ready to use his executive powers whenever possible," said Judy Chu, Democrat, California. With the clock running on Obama's time in office, he's even started marking the number of days left in public speeches. The president is done caring about congressional Republicans calling him a dictator or calling him at all. Obama can't ignore Republicans forever. There's no way for the president to avoid negotiations, to get continuing resolutions, to avoid a government shutdown, and raise the debt ceiling. Depending how it goes, rebuff GOP efforts to defund Obamacare and possibly a compromise on immigration reform. But administration officials and advisors say what's ahead will be more extensive and frequent than previous efforts, and the president is on the hunt for anything that can move without congressional approval, including encouraging efforts like Attorney General Eric Holder's lawsuits to find new avenues of enforcement in the wake of the Supreme Court decision on the Voting Rights Act last month. Now, if this were Richard Nixon, CBS Nightly News, ABC Nightly News, NBC Nightly News. I don't care what they call themselves. I'm calling them Nightly News. You know what I mean. They would be holding documentaries. They would be calling in former special prosecutors, independent counsel, constitutional experts to have a full anal exam of a president asserting a soft despotism. But, of course, I don't think anybody else is even talking about this. Certainly not the lib media. They could give a damn. See, the lib media like dictatorships as long as the dictators are leftists. They like it. Here we have Obama and his hack holder actually going after the media, actually going after the biggest part of the media, the Associated Press, and, of course, trying to pick off a Fox News reporter because they hate Fox, this James Rosen, tapping into dozens and dozens of phone lines, listening to hundreds of reporters, tapping into the parents of Rosen, and on and on and on. And the media outcry has been almost non-existent. Almost non-existent. Because the media, with a president like Obama, is not about reporting, it's about protecting. The Praetorian media, as I call it. And that's exactly what they are, the Praetorian media. So there we have Obama saying he is going to rule like Castro, like Mugabe, like Putin. Pick your dictator. He's looking for ways to bypass Congress. And here we have our Constitution, ladies and gentlemen. I'm deadly serious about this. Here we have our Constitution. The president doesn't have power when it comes to lawmaking and legislating. He doesn't have any power to do those things. And yet he's going to bypass Congress with executive orders? You know what executive orders used to be? Executive orders, they were orders by the executive to direct, typically administratively, members of the executive branch to do something, to comply with a statute or follow an executive branch policy. Executive orders were never, ever intended to be used in lieu of congressional legislation. And yet that's exactly what Obama's doing. Well, Mark, other presidents did it. Other presidents have abused their offices, but not like this president. This president makes it the rule, not the exception. And he's proud of it, and he's announcing it, and he's brazen about it. Meanwhile, where's Saxby Chambliss? Saxby Chambliss. Sorry, say that 10 times. See if that's not a tongue twister. What's with the names of these Republicans? We got Saxby Chambliss, Prince Brebis, or whatever the hell it is. I can't even... Whatever happened to Fred Smith and John Jones? But anyway, Saxby Chambliss on MSLSD in front of that doofus, the morning schmo, and his sidekick, Ed McMahon, and there they are attacking viciously Ted Cruz when the President of the United States has just announced his dictatorial powers. Illegitimately, but there he is. I wonder if that's going to be covered over at MSLSD, the home of Al Not-So-Sharpton and Rachel Madcow and Chris I'll Have Another Drink Matthews and all the rest of the freak show that is that cable station. No, they're not going to talk about it because they don't have a problem with it. So what are the Republicans going to do about this? This is always my question. What are they going to do about it? Issue a report? Judiciary Committee issue a 70-page report and say, wait a minute, the president can't do that. Oh, okay. What's John Boehner going to do? He gives us all the resources necessary to do what? What are they going to do? Nothing. And when a handful of patriots, so far a dozen, there were 15, now we're down to a dozen of senators, they say, well, we're going to do something about unconstitutional laws. We're going to stand up and we're going to defund Obamacare. Well, they can't defund all of it, but they want to take the discretionary spending out of it. They want to take the administrative expenses out of it. They want to slow it down or in some ways cripple it. They're attacked by Mitch McConnell. They're attacked by Saxby Chambliss. They're attacked by Tom Coburn. They're attacked by Richard Barrett and all the other useless types up on Capitol Hill. That's right, I said it, because that's what they are. And senators, stop calling me. Stop using my cell phone. Yes, folks, they do. I'm not interested. Sell it somewhere else, but not to me. Brent Bozell from the Media Research Center has a best-selling book out called Collusion, How the Media Stole the 2012 Election and How to Stop Them from Doing It in 2016. It's a great book, and it reveals the shocking truth about how a failed president won re-election. It's a must-read. I want to encourage you to order your copy now at MediaCollusion.com. MediaCollusion.com. Have you noticed the media's dirty trick with wealthy politicians? You know, if you're a Democrat who inherited millions or married into wealth, think John Kerry, they leave you alone. But if you're a Republican and you actually made your money running a business, you're a villain. So when ABC's Diane Sawyer interviewed Mitt Romney last year, she demonstrated this perfectly. She asked him, the speaking fees, the Cadillacs, the elevators for your cars, are you too rich to relate? Meanwhile, she has all those things. Diane Sawyer. Now, what kind of question is that? Has Diane Sawyer ever asked John Kerry or Barack Obama something like that? Collusion is packed with examples of the media parroting liberal talking points. It's also the conservatives' guide to countering them. And all the proceeds go to the MRC, a magnificent organization. I visited them at their headquarters on Monday. Met their wonderful folks there with my buddy Brent Bozell. It was a pleasure. So go to MediaCollusion.com right now and order your copy of Collusion. And tell your friends about it, too. That's MediaCollusion.com.
Mark Levin.
You know, folks, I just saw this. I'm going to get into some other thing, but I want to end this hour with this. It just shows you how Mickey Mouse this Congress is. From the Washington Examiner, Democratic veterans of the tobacco wars take aim at energy drinks. Why is Congress involved in energy drinks? I don't even drink energy drinks. I don't even know what the hell they're made of, and I don't much care. I don't care if it's crap. Why is Congress involved in this? Senate Democrats brought energy drink industry representatives before Congress with Senator Little Dick Durbin, Democrat Illinois, comparing them to the heads of tobacco companies and faulting them for marketing beverages to children in a special appearance as a witness at the hearing. Durbin is the second-ranked Democrat in the Senate, but the hearing was led first by Senator Jay Rockefeller and then Senator Richard Blumenthal. Quote, a number of companies are using marketing techniques highly appealing to teens, deliberately appealing to them, Rockefeller said. The question I want to get at is, in this hearing, whether this is responsible corporate behavior. No. Responsible corporate behavior is not to do anything, right? Quadruple the minimum wage, don't make any money, and don't advertise. Because otherwise you'll be dragged before Congress and they'll tell you how you're exploiting people. Now, of course, Congress never exploits people. They don't have false advertising. They don't lie about anything. Well, let's go on. Durbin and Blumenthal made clear they regard it as irresponsible, with Blumenthal suggesting Congress might increase regulations on the industry if the companies don't voluntarily change their marketing practices. How can Congress increase regulations? Congress can pass laws. Regulations are issued, but whatever. Executives representing Red Bull North America, Rockstar Inc., and Monster Beverage appeared at the hearing. Voluntary compliance would be a good step, and if further action is necessary, we would consider it, Blumenthal said. Is there some issue, Mr. Producer, with these drinks? Am I missing something? Not that I know. Does anybody even drink this stuff? Maybe, maybe not. Ladies and gentlemen, the country's going to hell. We have a massive debt. The President of the United States has directed the Treasury Department to pretend that we are not adding any more money to the massive debt so he can push the issue to November after his Martha's Vineyard vacation. We have some patriots, a handful really, in Congress trying to fight Obamacare. The Federal Reserve can't print enough money. We know they don't physically print money, but same thing. Issuing credit, issuing debt, Monetizing the debt is actually the technical phrase. But that said, all these things going on, and Congress wants to hear about energy drinks. I don't drink energy drinks. I'd never drink this crap. But that doesn't even matter. What is it of any of Congress's business? None. And there they are. I don't have my call screen, Mr. Call Screener. Who would you recommend, if you were running this show, that I should talk to? Patrick, Port St. Lucie, Florida. That would be the great WFSX. Go.
Sir, it's an honor.
Thank you, my friend.
I'm a Republican, and at this point I'm very confused. We used to have a platform. And can you define the Republican platform at this point? Because it seems like we're all over the map.
Even if they have a platform, it's just for show, because they're running cowards. That's what they are.
It's very frustrating to be getting back to your point that you brought at the beginning of the show with Benghazi and the IRS scandals. There's no focus.
There's no focus, and when you bring it up, they attack me.
That's right.
And why are they so defensive? Because I'm right. There's no focus. And you see it, Patrick, and everybody else sees it. And I'll tell you something else. And I've said it time and again, so the echo chambers picked it up. What does this party stand for today? Can you tell me that, Patrick?
That's the frustrating part. We used to be able to go to a national convention and know exactly what we stood for, who our candidates were. We were a team. Now it's more like what's tomorrow's headline, and let's change our entire approach to adjust to try and catch a vote.
Well, the way I see it is they nominated an establishment Massachusetts Republican governor for president and lost, and their prescription is to destroy the conservative movement. Ain't going to happen. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Wow. I'm Mark Levin. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. I repeat, wow, ladies and gentlemen, the economy grew at 1.7% last quarter. You know what that means? It means it's dead in the water. That's what it means. And then I have to hear the propaganda that we call news in this country going on and on about there's some growth. We see some progress. We see nothing of the sort. We've been fed this crap throughout the Obama presidency. Yes, we have. Very interesting poll in Politico. Nearly two-thirds of Republicans want their party to change its direction, and more than half say they want the party to become more conservative. Is this the Republican Party they're talking about? When asked if Republicans just need to make a stronger case on its positions, or whether it needs to reconsider some of those positions, 59% of the Republican voters surveyed in a new Pew Research poll said the party needs to reconsider some policies, while 36% said it just needed to make a stronger case. 76% said the party needed to address major problems, as opposed to 30% who said they needed changes were minor. You see how this conflicts with the idiots over there at the Republican National Committee that issued a report? What was that report called? I don't even remember. What was it called? It was some stupid pandering report. So the bottom line is the membership of the Republican Party wants the party to move more conservative. And how could it not? How could it be more liberal than it is? I don't even know. It's a pro-big government status quo party. Now, the Democrat Party is not a status quo party. The Democrats, with the help of Republicans in the past, but the Democrats have basically had their way with the federal government. It's their design. It's their edifice. And yet they always run against it. We need more. This doesn't work. That doesn't work. And it always amazes me how the Republicans are incapable of responding. Wait a minute, you created that program. Yes, but we need more. Got to be bigger and better and more of it. But the Republicans, no, look, we hate Obamacare. We're going to rip it from its roots. We're going to break its branch. Just not now. It's not the perfect, ideal, exact time to do it. We can't do that now. What are you, an emotional wreck? What are you, a wacko bird? We can't do that right now. We'll do it later. Then we'll hold hearings. The American people will see. The press will tell them what a disaster this is. And then, once it's fully implemented, once it's carved in stone, then we'll vote to repeal it. What do you think of that strategy, Karl Rove? It's a great one. It's my strategy. I have it right here on my third grade whiteboard with my second grade printing. And then you hear these some of these broadcasters and columnists. Yeah, he's right. I mean, it'd be a disaster if we fight Obamacare now. Be like 1995, when we shut down the government for 3 weeks, and what happened? We got our butts handed to us. We actually won 2 seats in the Senate. Hey, but who's counting? And then we get the cackles in the background from the morning schmo. Wasn't that him, Mr. Producer? That's my imitation of the morning schmo. That and but anyway. So the Republican members, the Republican Party, and not all of you, obviously, but many of you who are in the Republic, you want the party to move more conservative. So what's it going to do? My guess is they'll try and nominate another Northeastern establishment status quo, if not liberal Republican governor, for presidential candidate. Sure. Screw the base. We're trying to build a tent here. Hey, look, we're trying to build a tent, a really, really big tent. And if we're going to build a big tent, we can't have conservatives in it. No. Everybody else is welcome but conservatives because they're so narrow-minded. They don't know how to win. All right, don't bring up that Reagan. The era of Reagan is over. The era of John McCain and Karl Rove, that's here and it's here to stay. Don't bring up Reagan anymore. Oh, okay. Meanwhile, Obama, he chugs along. Our friends at the Washington Times, Cheryl Chumley. White House has kicked off several federal projects aimed at influencing how Americans react to certain policy reforms, going so far as to solicit behavior experts to join a British-style behavioral insights team to help nudge voters into accepting key political This isn't a British type thing. You know what this is? This is a Maoist indoctrination type thing. Remember Obama had that Maoist? What the hell was that guy's name? Jones, Van Jones. What was the lady's name? There's so many, I can't keep track. A Maoist. This is Maoism. It's not the British behavioral insights. It's called indoctrination. Behavioral sciences can be used to help design public policies that work better, cost less, and help people to achieve their goals, a document on the government program states, as Fox reported. The document emailed by White House senior advisor Maya Shankar. Do I have that right? Shankar? Or is it Shankar? And obtained by Fox News also seeks applicants to join the federal government's behavior modification team. There you go. We call this indoctrination. Re-education is probably a better phrase. So the White House has a re-education team. Well, we knew that was coming. It fits perfectly with the soft despotism, the economic Marxism, the allegiance to Saul Alinsky. So we need an indoctrination team or a re-education team. England already has one such group. It's called the Behavioral Insights Team, and has recently recommended to the government how best to compel Brits to pay their taxes. The main thrust of the White House-backed group to experiment with ways to control, sway, and tweak Americans' behaviors. Now listen to that. Control, sway, and tweak Americans' behavior. So they do everything from saving more money for retirement to curbing energy uses and trimming energy costs. Are we in America or what? Where the hell are we? The new program has already been used in conjunction with the Department of Health and Human Services, the Department of Agriculture, and it hails from ideas discussed years ago, most notably on the heels of publication of a 2008 book written by Obama's former regulatory czar, Cass Sunstein, who referred to such government actions as nudges. Advocates say nudging helps move the political process along. You know, this is what I think of their friggin' nudges and their behavioral sciences and all the rest of their crap. Nudges. They need a swift, big kick in the ass out of office. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Well, we don't want to keep this gentleman waiting. He's calling from England. Luke in England. How are you, sir?
Hello, Mark. It's a pleasure to speak to you. I'm 17. I listen to your show every night, and I love America. And basically, I'm really worried about what the left are doing to your country. And basically, I got this because in September, I watched the Democratic Convention, and I taken on to it really easily. And I realized, and then my brother told me about you, and I realized what real liberty was. And basically, a lot of my friends in this country are liberals, and they take on to the left very easily. And Barack Obama basically just, you know, they love him, but basically he's an idiot, and I hate him. And
all right, now wait a minute. So you're 17 years old. And you're a person who believes in liberty. Your brother turned you on to this show. How did your brother find out about this show?
Oh, well, he's called you before. It was Gary.
Gary? Yeah.
Yeah. And he's given me Liberty and Tyranny, and I've read that, and you've really opened my eyes to basically the world, and I just...
Well, thank you. And, well, let me ask you this. You're surrounded by liberals. Now, when you talk about liberty to them, do any of them kind of come across? Or?
Oh, no, they're all drones. It's like they have this mental blockage in their brain, like all logical information, they just block. Like, I try telling them that private healthcare would be better for this country, and they don't realise that the NHS is just basically a load of crap. And I tell them about you, and they say to me that I'm an idiot for listening to you, and basically, I
well, they ought to listen for a couple of weeks. They might actually learn something.
Oh no, I just want them to understand that, you know, liberty lost is liberty we cannot regain, and
that's exactly right.
The government is a lot bigger in this country, and this country, like you say, has gone down the toilet. And in your country, the government is a lot less, and yet it's still really...
But here's the thing, Luke. We have a Constitution. You don't. In our country, they're supposed to be complying with this Constitution.
Exactly, yeah.
And they're intentionally defying it.
Exactly.
And so we're spreading the Levin Empire internationally. I used to have a fan club in England. I may still. They had a website, didn't they, Mr. Producer? As a matter of fact... You remember that? We linked to it. I don't know if it's still there. I think it is still there. It's not gone. They're gone. What were they, rounded up? All right, Luke, you're the official in charge. You're 17. That's plenty by me. You're in charge of the Mark Levin fan club in England. Is that okay?
Yeah, and I'll keep spreading liberty. And I respect your country a hell of a lot. And I wish to go there in the future, and if I could, I would vote Republican if I was ever allowed to do that. And
you're a very good man. Let me ask you this: where in England are you? What town?
It's not London, near Liverpool, but it'd be too small for you to understand where it was.
So you're in a rural area, suburban area?
Yeah. It's full of leftists.
So it's like, in other words, it's like Rhode Island. Well, my friend, I appreciate your call, and call again. When my new book comes out, I'll send it to you. I think you're going to love it, The Liberty Amendments. So take care. What time is it there? Let me see. It's kind of late there.
It's 12:23.
12:23. I don't even go to bed till about 2 in the morning, so maybe it's not that late there. Now, you're still going to school, right?
Well, in your country I'll be going to school, but in this country you leave at 16, so I'm actually at college.
So you're at college now?
Yeah.
And what do you want to do?
Well, I would love to, I study history and politics at the moment, and obviously it's really hard because I have a liberal teacher and the classroom is full of liberals. But I like to do American studies when I'm older and take a year where I go over to an American university and maybe study de Tocqueville and Adam Smith. And
that's great.
Just really.
And isn't that interesting? Because Adam Smith was a Scot, and Alexis de Tocqueville was French.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
All right, my brother. Well, listen, keep in touch, Luke. It's good to hear from you.
Yeah, you keep stamping out socialism, and you keep preaching liberty, and you make sure 2016 the Republicans win.
First we have to nominate a decent candidate, or we'll never win.
Well, I think that there's too many Rhino Republicans, and I think that.
Who do you like? Do you like Ted Cruz?
Yeah, even Donald Trump, he looks all right.
You like Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Do you like Joe Scarborough on MSLSD?
Oh, no.
Of course not. He's internationally despised. All right, Luke, God bless you, my friend. Call again. You take care. There goes Luke, 17. He's leading the Mark Levin fan club in England. I just appointed him there. But, no, we used to have a fan club in England. It disappeared. What happened to it? Let's continue, shall we? Let's see. Mike in Princeton, New Jersey. How are you listening to us, Mike?
How you doing, Mark? Well, we segue from a 17-year-old to a 73-year-old.
Well, now, how are you listening to the program?
On WABC.
WABC in New York. All right, my friend. What's up?
Mark, I don't remember. I called you 3 years ago or so when
honestly, I don't remember. It's 3 years ago.
You remember when I told you I called you the bandmaster on the Titanic as we were?
Now that I do remember. Okay,
yeah, I remember.
Yes.
And then I had to call back. I thought we were defeated with George Bush and McCain and everybody pushing the immigration so-called reform. Now we have an immigration capitulation bill, but that's another story.
Right.
Mark, I'd like to be an optimist. I got to tell you something. I'm a guy with an 8th-grade education. Was in the Navy at 17. Built $1 million business, and today I'm living on Social Security. Not Obama, not anybody else. It's just that when you hear these low interest rates and people complain about them, I committed the cardinal sin. I had millions of dollars, $3 million worth of property, and in order to keep my son and my family in business, I had to take out loans for them. And that's why I'm in the position I am today, because the business, it's gone. This country, believe me when I tell you, Mark, it's nothing you can do or I can do, and there's nobody we can depend on. Not Rubio, not anybody. This imperial president that we have that just ignores the Constitution, him and Queen Michelle, he got Democrats are the court jesters, and the Republicans are eunuchs. That's exactly what they are, and it's imperial. When you come up with that, what you were talking about earlier, about this government that's going to have, it's almost, it's like Vietnam when the war was lost. They put them in internment camps and say, here's what you got to do now.
No, I'm not saying internment camps. No. I don't want to be misunderstood. But I'm saying this whole notion of indoctrination and re-education, they call it nudging, is so alien to the American experience. It's really grotesque. All right, Mike, good to hear from you again. Don't make it every 3 years now, my friend. Listen, we can be doom and gloom, and I do get it, And I've been there, and I get my moods, too. But there are also ways that we can fight this. That's the whole point of the Liberty Amendments, restoring the American Republic. Not a snap answer, but an answer. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin, simply the smartest man on radio. And you can call him 877-381-3811.
I love this song. What the hell is it, Mr. Producer? I don't even know. By Paramore. Oh, who are they? Let's see. Oh, there's more to it? Is this a new song? Oh, of course it is. All right, whatever. All right. There's so much here. And, I'm just trying to organize it in a logical way. But so much of what's here is illogical, so how do you organize illogical stuff in a logical way? Well, there's a way to do it. Did you know that the Homeland Security Department lost track of 1 million foreigners? Oh, yes, by Stephen Denon at the Washington Times. The Homeland Security Department has lost track of more than 1 million people who it knows arrived in the U.S. but who cannot prove they left the country. According to an audit Tuesday that also found the department probably won't meet its own goals of deploying an entry-exit system. What is this? The big government inefficiencies and incompetence, and they just keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, there's Obama meeting with the Congressional Black Caucus. So, Patrick Leahy, is he black? No. He's like the whitest guy on Capitol Hill next to McCain, but there they are. The findings were revealed as Congress debates an immigration bill, and the General Accountability Office report could throw up another hurdle. No, it won't. No. The push for big government amnesty is an ideological push. It has nothing to do with substance, nothing to do with evidence, nothing to do with, like this report from the GAO, which says, you can't even keep track of 1 million foreigners. It doesn't matter. Republican and Democrat alike, it doesn't matter. They're going to push this, period. DHS has not yet fulfilled the 2004 statutory requirement to implement a biometric exit capability, but is planning efforts underway to report to Congress in time for the fiscal 2016 budget cycle on the costs and benefits of such a capability at reports and seaports. Well, it's only been 12 years. Give them another 12, maybe 20. Got to get it right, Just not the right time to repeal Obamacare. Just not the right time to secure the border. Listen, what do you want to lose an election? What's wrong with you? Or to quote Joe Scarborough, the morning schmo, I believe that was him cackling. And then we get the usual line, doing nothing is de facto amnesty. No, doing nothing is doing nothing. So that's right, we don't want de facto amnesty, ladies and gentlemen. We want the real McCoy, may I say. Real amnesty. Not de facto amnesty, real amnesty, followed up by real legalization, followed up by real citizenship. By the way, the people who are in the shadows, they're now making demands for citizenship, and they want it faster. They're doing it from the shadows, of course. But in the shadows, where all this activity is going, Mr. Producer, it's summertime. I'm in the shadows all the time. I don't see these people in the shadows. Do you? I'm in the shade. That's where I go when I'm hot. Doing nothing is de facto amnesty. We need to take control of whom we let in our country, and we need to make sure everybody plays by the same rules. And that's what a letter from these donors, I told you about, 100 top donors to the Republican Party, millionaires, billionaires, corporatists all, they all just happen to get together and send a letter to Congress. And, of course, Karl Rove encouraged them to do it. And at the same exact time, we call it simultaneously, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce sent a letter too. to the same Republicans in the House. How did that happen? How did it just coincidence? So it's exactly the right time for amnesty, exactly the right time for deficits and debts, exactly the right time for more Fed monetizing the debt, printing and so forth. Exactly the right time for Obama to be ruling by despotic means, executive order. It's exactly the wrong time to stop any of this. What are you, nut? We're going to lose an election. Hey! You just lost an election, you moron. Hey, so what? We don't want to lose another one. Remember? Only McCain could win. You remember that? Only Romney can win. You remember that one? Next, only Jeb can win. Only Christie can win. Only that. Right, of course, whatever, of course. And then if we lose, it's the fault of the very people who told them they were going to lose. The conservatives. Hey, the demographics are changing. The world's changing. Hey, what do you want to go back, to things like liberty and private property rights and the rule of law? Yeah, we can't go back. We're going forward, not back. All these old white men who believe in liberty and private property rights and the Constitution, they need to get with it. Oh, here's our friend Paul Ryan. I think he's a white man, isn't he, Mr. Producer? I think he is. So why are we listening to him? Anyway, Paul Ryan, our friends at Breitbart, Matt Boyle, who's a great reporter over there, video first posted by the left-wing site Think Progress. Actually, it ought to be called Think Marxism. Shows House Budget Committee Chairman Representative Paul Ryan during a recent town hall meeting in Racine, Wisconsin. We found him in a town hall meeting saying something, too, discussing trying to find a way around the Hastert rule in bringing immigration reform bills to the floor of the House. Now, if you actually are a normal American, you don't know what the hell the Hastert rule is. Hastert rule? What the hell is a Hastert? Well, Hastert was a Speaker of the House. Oh, he was? Yes, he was. And he had a rule in place. And this guy was no right-winger. He is what we call a moderate. And his rule was, look, if I can't get a majority of the Republicans in the House to support a bill, I'm not bringing it to the floor of the House, because then the Democrats and a minority of Republicans will pass laws that we don't like. Now, here's the Boehner rule. The Boehner rule is, look, I got to make sure these bills pass that the Republicans don't like, so I'll pretend I'm for the Hastert rule, but I'm really not. So what did our friend Paul Ryan say at this particular Racine, Wisconsin town hall meeting? Well, here's a transcript. It's right in front of me, presented by Think Progress via Breitbart. Here was the question asked of Paul Ryan. Quote, one of the biggest frustrations we're seeing right now is hearing Speaker Boehner that he's going to follow the Hastert rule, that he's not going to bring any of these bills forward unless they have a majority support of the majority party. What's your position? Should you maintain that? So they have these plants, you see, that follow these Republicans around? You don't actually believe in the Hastert rule where a majority of Republicans in the House have to support a bill before you bring it to the floor, do you? Here was Ryan's answer. Quote, bringing these bills to the floor, we'll find out. It is not, quote, they don't come to the floor unless we have a majority of the majority, unquote, because we don't know if we have a majority until we vote on it. Now, that's not true. They have what they call whips. And I suppose they have chains, too. Whips and chains, but they have what they call whips, and they whip the count. So they have a pretty good feel for whether they have a majority or not. They don't actually have to take a vote. In some cases they do, but most of the cases they don't. But he went on. So here's where I see things going. I've spoken to John Boehner as recently as 3 days ago about this, which is we all agree it is better to legislate in stages instead of one big 1,000-plus page bill that no one has read. That's right. We need 5 200-page bills, and when you put them together, it's one 1,000-page bill. But we'll do 5 200-page bills, boom, 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 one after the other. And that'll make a real big difference. See, we did 5, not 1. It's a difference of 4. Anyway, he goes on. So here's what I see things are going. I've spoken to John Boehner as recently as 3 days ago. And how was Johnny? Was it during happy hour? Just asking. which is we all agree it is better to legislate in stages instead of one big 1,000-plus page bill that no one has read. I'm trying to get to a consensus so a majority of us do support those component parts. I believe that's achievable because when people really look at the details and they focus on what's right, I believe what I've just laid out is something that a consensus of Republicans and Democrats can agree to. So you see, Ryan's comments to his constituents, particularly in claiming the introduction of immigration bill is not, they don't come to the floor unless we have a majority of a majority, because we don't know how many votes we'll have, contradicts the promises House Speaker John Boehner made, because a promise by John Boehner isn't worth spit. That's right, I said it, because it's true. Because we've seen all his promises. They're worth about as much as Obama's promises, which isn't worth spit. We've got a lot of spit and a lot of spittle, and that's about it. And a word that rhymes with both, but I'm not allowed to say on the air. So I won't. Folks, our economy is being held together by massive injections of money and zero interest rates. But these dangerous economic policies won't last forever. When our government is finally forced to jettison its addiction to free money, our financial system could be devastated. Will you be prepared when it comes time to pay the piper? With gold and silver at 2-year lows, now is the time to consider diversifying with a tangible asset that has survived economic collapses and rampant inflation. And for a limited time, Goldline has expanded its industry-leading price guarantee program to provide its clients with both upside and downside protection. With a qualifying purchase of Goldline's exclusive limited prediction gold and silver coins, you can either call to reprice your coins if the selling price falls, or if the selling price increases during the qualifying period, you can call to acquire additional coins at the original selling price. Now, these conditions and limits apply, so call Goldline now to learn more about this special offer. For a limited time, when you call Goldline for its free investor kit and mention that I, Mark Levin, sent you, Goldline will include, for as long as they have any left, a free commemorative medal that I designed with Ben Franklin on one side and Independence Hall on the other, and you'll also get the free investor kit. So please call Goldline right now, 1-877-365-2646. Read Goldline's important risk information to see if buying precious metals is right for you. 1-877-365-2646, 1-877-365-COIN. That's 1-877-365-COIN.
Mark Levin.
All right, I'll play along just this time. I have the perfect campaign slogan for Anthony Weiner. You ready, Mr. Producer? Everybody write this down. Vote Weiner. He's the only candidate who can be sure will keep his hand in his own pants and out of yours. Weiner for mayor. See, I can play along. I can do this too. Here is a story from White House Dossier. Let's see. This was actually posted the other day, but I somehow missed it, and I want to go back to this. President Obama said, writes Keith Koffler, if economic prescriptions of the type he supports to increase economic growth and reduce income inequality are not adopted, then race relations in the United States may deteriorate further. Did you guys hear this? I don't think this has gotten much attention at all. He said, quote, if we don't do anything, then growth will be slower than it should be. Unemployment will not go down as fast as it should. Income inequality, by the way, which is worse under him than both of his predecessors. Income inequality will continue to rise, Obama said in an interview in the New York Slimes. Racial tensions won't get better. They may get worse because people will feel as if they've got to compete with some other group to get scraps from a shrinking pot. If the economy is growing, everybody feels invested, he said. This is absolutely stunning on many levels. First of all, the economy grew at 1.7% last quarter, which is a disaster. The economy should be chugging along at about 4% right now. Obama wants to raise taxes. Harry Reid talked about another $1 trillion tax increase. They want to spend hundreds of billions of dollars more over what they're already spending. The effects of Obamacare will be felt soon, but the full effects haven't been felt yet. And it still has resulted in a part-time economy, and it's resulted in companies refusing to expand, in fact, many of them contracting, many of them going offshore. His union buddies are running around, hey, let's double the wages at McDonald's from $7.50 or $8 an hour to twice as much. Meanwhile, at the same time, he's pushing for amnesty and ultimately citizenship for illegal aliens. He won't secure the border, so people are going to be fighting over part-time jobs at McDonald's. The president has created the very scenario that he talks about, so it's not even a prediction, Mr. Producer. I think it's a threat. But I wanted to bring this to your attention because it's one of the items I meant to get to, but I didn't. This is the mentality. This is the Obama mentality. I want you to think about this for a second. He speaks like this. He talks to other groups about how he's going to use a despotic means to promote their agenda. He rewrites laws like Obamacare. He has no power to waive deadlines, and he does it. He rewrites laws like the welfare law of the 1990s, changing the workfare requirements. He doesn't have any power to do that. And these Republicans, these old rhino, mealy-mouth Republicans, go on MSLSD and trash the young Turks who are trying to stand up to this, who are trying to find ways to engage, to challenge, and to inform the American people. And they're attacked. Obama's not attacked. They're attacked by the Republicans. Now, these are very dire times. So when the gentleman called, he said, I think it's over. He lost his business. He's living on Social Security. He's 73, had an 8th grade education. He had acquired up to $3 million, and he lost it all. Try and take care of his family. He says it's over. And I'm saying it may be. But we still have to fight. And that's why I come to you, and that's why I, quite frankly, am excited and, in fact, exhilarated by this book that I've written, and I cannot wait to get into it, and we're going to. The Liberty Amendments, but here's the subtitle, Restoring the American Republic. Maybe that's what it should have been called, Restoring the American Republic. But I wanted to emphasize the process. A difficult, time-consuming process, but a process nonetheless. And I've said many times before, part of the problem with we conservatives, we get antsy. If we can't get things accomplished in 30 seconds, then we don't pursue them. And part of the problem with the left, for us, is they never stop. Short-term, mid-term, long-term, they are endless in their pursuit of tyranny. We have to start thinking more along the lines of mid and long-term. We need to start thinking about being resolute. We need to start thinking about ways to approach this that we're told we shouldn't think about. We're going to do all these things. The Liberty Amendments, Restoring the American Republic. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, Deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Why is that news? I'm Mark Levin. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Why is it national news that George Zimmerman was pulled over for speeding in Texas with a gun in his glove compartment? He had a gun in his glove compartment, which was absolutely legal. So why is this news? The officer told him to slow it down and let him go. By the way, why doesn't that ever happen to me? Well, it's happened sometimes, but probably not enough. Here's an interesting mind teaser for you. There's a piece over at the Atlantic Wire by a Philip Bump. And he raises an interesting point. I'm curious of your take on this. He says, despite the laudatory title of the Senate Judiciary Committee's hearing on the NSA surveillance on Wednesday morning, this morning, strengthening privacy rights and national security, oversight of FISA surveillance programs, the last 24 hours have made one thing clear. A blizzard of new details and official documents released by the Obama administration stem not from the much ballyhooed oversight of the three branches of government, but out of necessity following the leaks from Edward Snowden. In other words, these knuckleheads on these committees, they weren't even doing their jobs. But for the leak, they wouldn't be holding these hearings. As the committee gets set to meet, at least three substantial new sets of information have been made public thanks to what journalism professor Jay Rosen calls the Snowden effect. According to the Washington Compost, the Obama administration has declassified and will shortly release the full court order that compels Verizon to share metadata from its customers' calls. Now, those of you who are trashing Verizon and AT&T and these other companies, they didn't voluntarily turn this information over. They had to be ordered to turn it over. And as I keep saying and will keep saying, this information about your phone calls, your phone numbers, the pattern of your calls, that information is owned by private companies, by the telephone companies. And when I started to raise this to confront the idiots who are going on and on, oh, you don't own those phone numbers, you don't own, but the government doesn't own them either. So the government has seized them. It's confiscated them. So rather than going to the telephone companies or the server companies with specific requests for information and a basic justification for that information, they just took it all. Well, we conservatives support that. We're for law enforcement and national security. That has nothing to do with it. As I've been saying for months. Anyway, the rationale for the existence of the program was confirmed in June by Snowden. The FISA released a secondary order. And in any event, this information, more and more of it's becoming available by release of the federal government itself, the Obama administration, to justify what it's doing to Congress. So Congress can do what it's supposed to do, oversight and potentially legislate. Now, you keep hearing the Supreme Court approved this. The Supreme Court approved this. The Supreme Court approved what? When the Supreme Court decided last year not to halt the NSA surveillance, the primary rationale for doing so was that the plaintiffs in the suit couldn't demonstrate standing. That is, they'd been affected by the surveillance. And people running around, hey, the Supreme Court approved this. The Supreme Court approved what? It didn't approve the substance of this. And even if it did, who gives a damn? Gee, they've never been wrong before, huh? Dred Scott. But anyway, the substance of the case was never decided on. So in the wake of Snowden's revelations, that decision received additional scrutiny, including statements from Solicitor General Donald Verrilli that the government informed suspects where that surveillance had been used in their prosecutions. In other words, Verrilli implied that there were more people who understood they had standing to challenge their surveillance than actually existed. Now that will actually happen because we're all being surveilled. You know, a couple of months ago when I was on my buddy Neil Cavuto's show, and I decided to link to this on my social sites, when this became public, on top of these black boxes they're putting into our automobiles so the government can track our speed and distances and so forth, on top of the drones that are used even for non-law enforcement purposes, on top of the Obamacare law in which all of our medical records are put into a central database, which all government agencies almost can access, on top of the IRS keeping our financial and other information, and on it goes. I said these are the elements of a police state. And not another single talk show host that I'm aware of defended me. Not one. And now today, they agree that these are the elements of a police state. I had to drag these fools kicking and screaming to see what you and I see right in front of our faces. The government does not need this information on such a broad scale. So when Governor Chris Christie says that this kind of information would have prevented a 9/11, he's a liar. This kind of information had nothing to do with 9/11. Do you know what might have helped prevent 9/11? Not only if the CIA and FBI were coordinating and talking to each other. I'm not talking about collecting all kinds of information on innocent American citizens. If they'd been collaborating on issues related to terrorism, that might have helped. But if the border had been secured, if we had had some kind of efficient, rational immigration program in place by a competent government, where people who overstay their visas are hunted down and thrown the hell out of the country, that might have gone a long way in potentially stopping 9/11. I don't know, but that certainly had more to do with it than a program like this would have in stopping it. And I notice the governor of New Jersey never mentions the Islamo-Nazi on trial at Fort Hood, where the NSA program would have had nothing to do with that, but some basic common sense and the defiance of PC may have stopped that nut job. Or the Boston massacre at the Boston Marathon. The Russians identified these two terrorists. We knew everything about them. We knew where they were born. We knew where they were from. We knew who they had visited. We knew where they were living. We had their Social Security numbers. We had all kinds of information on them. The Department of Homeland Security had it. The FBI had it. Everybody had it. Well, we didn't have enough to keep them. Got that, Governor Christie? And they killed people. People that look like me. Could have been my sons and daughters. Because our government, with the information, specific details, didn't stop them. Because they didn't have enough. We don't need a quasi-police state to protect ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. We need competent people in office to protect us, to use existing technologies in lawful ways, and to use that evidence effectively. But truth be told, as long as we refuse to accurately profile the enemy, let me repeat that because I know it's considered controversial even though it shouldn't be. Until we are willing to accurately profile the enemy, then we'll continue to have the elements of a police state where everybody gets caught in the net. And we go through these enormously expensive, bureaucratic, useless hoops and claim that this will prevent the next A, B, C, X, Y, Z, when it won't. And it won't. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I like this song. Anthony in Maryland, the great WMAL. Go.
How you doing, Mark?
All right. Thank you, sir.
Holders lied to congressional committees under oath several times. They just came out with something on the news today about this thing about James Rosen.
Yes, he gave deceptive testimony, they concluded, the House Judiciary Committee. So what? What are they going to do about it?
Impeach him.
Well, they're not going to do it.
Why not? Isn't there enough?
All right, listen to me. Why not is a question that a third grader would ask. You know why they're not going to do it. They won't even fight Obamacare. So the answer is they're not going to do anything about it, but they're going to issue more reports. Why not? Well, you know why not.
They may not get a bill voted out of the House, but I sure as hell would like to see the debate on the floor. If somebody with some courage could bring it up on C-SPAN, get on the news.
Thank you for your call, sir. What's he, dreaming? Dreaming? We can do the what ifs all we want, but there is no what if. It's not going to happen. And quite frankly, it's unfortunate because this president deserves to be impeached. That's right, I said it. This president deserves to be impeached. And I could write the bill myself, all the specifics. But it's not going to happen. So we've spent enough time on it already, which is what, 2.5 minutes? Virginia, Rockland County, New York, the great WABC. How are you, my friend?
Hi, Mark. Thank you. I have been trying to get through to you for weeks now. Thank you. You are my hero. I have George Washington, The Crossing. I have Abraham Lincoln, Gettysburg, and I'm waiting for this book. It's going to be published on my birthday.
So your birthday's the 13th. Well, good for 13th.
You. Yes, sir. I was born in Detroit, and we won't go into that. But you are my hero, Mark. When I need encouragement, I called you on a Friday night 3 years ago last June. I was scheduled for heart surgery, and I called you a few minutes before you're closing the program, and you said, "You'll be all right, Virginia." And here I am, Mark, 3 years later, working full-time at a job I love. And I love this country. And keep strong, Mark, because you are my hero, as George Washington is my hero. I remember as a child the classrooms that would go to George Washington's portrait, and each room, who do they know now as George Washington, Mark? It's so sad.
Virginia, first of all, I do remember you. Oh. Thank goodness you're doing well, and God bless you. I'll tell you what, don't hang up. I'm going to send you a signed copy of my dad's book. I know you have it, but let me send you a signed copy of George Washington, The Crossing.
Thank you.
And don't hang up. Don't hang up.
I share it with my son. I give him the book that I have books of yours, and I share it with him.
Well, God bless you. You take care of yourself. You know, folks, let me tell you something about you, my audience. There are some shows that have bigger audiences, although not many. But you in my audience, there is no more faithful audience than my audience, than you. No more loyal audience than you. And I want to thank you. And I truly appreciate it. And I am blessed by you. And I know it every single day. I do not take you for granted. I do not dumb this show down because I don't think you can understand it. I don't play games trying to talk about this cultural group or that cultural group. I talk to you as adults, whether you're a young person or whether you're a senior citizen, or whether you're middle-aged or you don't know what you are. The fact of the matter is, when you listen to this program, I hope you find it entertaining. More than that, I hope you find it compelling. Now, some days are better than others, just like with everybody else. But I try not to do the routine or the rote. I try to really bring something to the table for you so you'll stick with me and so you'll walk away with something. Because you have so many choices at this time, 6 p.m. Eastern, and all the other times across the country. You have many, many other choices. So I do know that I'm blessed, and I'm blessed to have you. And I thank you. And I know how loyal you are. I know how loyal you are from the rallies we've held. I know how loyal you are from the book signings I have. I know how loyal you are by our ratings. And whether you're rated listening to an affiliate or not rated because you listen on satellite or online or what have you, you're there. And I know you are. And I know by the enormous input that we get. I don't even talk about my social sites. Some people promote them endlessly. There's about 500,000 of you on my Facebook site. And about 250,000 of you on my Twitter site. I'm not some actor in Hollywood. I'm not here hawking endlessly, pushing my social sites. Join. Of course, now and then I do. But not all the time. I rarely appear on television. And yet there you are, following me, listening to me. And I want you to know, I've never had a big head about this. You know, in my favorite movie, Patton, it is my favorite movie. And I've probably watched it 50 times since I was a kid. He has a line in that speech he gives at the beginning of the movie. Glory is fleeting. Glory is fleeting. And I know that's true. I believe that at the bottom of my heart. So I want to thank you. I don't do it enough. I try to do it every evening, but I don't think I do it enough. I want to thank you. We'll be right back.
Freedom is high, but this phone call is not. Call Mark Levin toll-free at 877-381-3811.
Larry, Huntsville, Alabama, the great WVNN. Go.
Mark, you are the man, the shining suit of armor, and listening to you just makes my night just fantastic.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
If it wasn't for you, I would not know what I would do. First of all, my wife wants to send you a present because she thinks the world of you. If you'll let your screen caller give me a place, I can send you an autographed picture. My wife is a gospel recording artist, and she wants to send you a picture and send you a CD if you would like one.
All right, very kind of you. Leave that with Mr. Yep.
I want to talk, and I don't want to have too much time because I know you have a lot of callers.
Yeah.
But down here in Alabama, there's a lot of upset people. Out here, Redstone Arsenal, we've incurred furloughs. My wife lost her job because of that man in the office, and every night I see him on TV, it just makes my blood boil because I just want to jump and just grab him and shake him and go, wake up. You know, what are you doing to the country that we love? And it just makes my blood boil. And your nighttime listening to you and the fact that I know you like Jeff Sessions, and so do I. Got to meet Senator Sessions. He is a fine man, and he would make somebody a good candidate for something. And between you and him and Rush and Sean, you guys are just wonderful. And one more thing about my wife, because of Obamacare, her programs were cut at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. It increased my insurance. I have to pay for her over $200. My check went down $300, and a year later, she still can't find a job. But I listen to you every single night. And I want to
thank you, my friend.
You are the great. I mean, if it wasn't for you and Sean and all you guys, my night just wouldn't be worth it. I've been waiting to talk to you for months, and I know you're busy, But if you'll let your call screener know, and by the way, I've read Ameritopia, and I've read one of your other books. I haven't got Killing some of the other new ones yet because I just haven't had time. We've been stressed for money. Your books are fantastic, and keep them coming.
All right, brother. Well, thank you, and you're terrific. And don't hang up, Mr. Call Screener. Go ahead and give him the information. Appreciate that. Let's keep going. Joe, Indianapolis, Indiana, the great WFDM. Go.
Hey, I heard you touch on the Boston bomber subject and people needing protected and discussing the NSA programs, the surveillance programs, and I kind of wanted to drop some info across you and see what your thoughts were on it.
All right.
From my take on the situation in general, we invaded Kuwait back in the 90s and, liberated, and then we went into Iraq, and we actually did invade Iraq. It wasn't a liberation, I guess you could call it that. And the majority of people out there, I think, could agree that we did so for natural resources. There's a fourth, Iraq.
This is so boring. You know, you guys used to... Hold on. I'll let this Lorman. You know, we got to hear this repeat. Isn't this like a 19... whatever repeat? Go ahead, Joe. I'll give you a little more time, but my limit is going to be very short with you. Go ahead.
Countries has spawned some of the worst terrorism that we've seen, and now people think that terrorists wake up one day and they just don't like the United States. Well, it's because we've been meddling in their affairs.
All right, thanks for your call. I've had enough of creeps like you over the years. I don't know. I seem to recall this guy was out of Russia. Maybe I missed something. Really a Chechnyan. What's that have to do with Iraq? Well, Muslims are all alike, you know. No, they're not. So it's America's fault that we were hit in Boston. I'm not putting up with this crap. Not here, not now. You want to call somebody else and do it? Fine. And I'm not even going to play games. Sabatino, Naples, Florida, the great WFSX. Go.
Hello, Mark. Been listening to you for a long time, and at the risk of sounding patronizing, I've been screaming that we've been living in a police state for a long time, and everybody tells me I'm nuts. The NSA, a thought just came to mind. Along with it being unconstitutional, illegal, mirroring the police state and whatnot, I mean, wouldn't you think that they're doing it in the name of security, but wouldn't you think that the hundreds of millions of innocent, citizens that they're monitoring their emails and calls, wouldn't that clutter up their databases and make it much more difficult for them to get to the real callers and emails of suspected
Yes, it's a huge diversion for them. I mean, I don't know how many people we have working at these massive sites. They're building them with the databases and so forth, but imagine all those resources actually being focused properly. I mean, basically, they call it data mining and everything. No, they've nationalized the data that already exists, that's collected by the phone companies and the server companies. They're just rebuilding this information, stealing it from the private sector, putting it on government computers, and then I don't know what the hell they're doing with it, but it's unnecessary because if they need that information, it already exists. You go to a court and you get it. And if you don't have enough time to go to a court, the Patriot Act builds in a provision for that. And then after the fact, you get a warrant, but you're still held to account. So right now, it's just open season, and I don't like it. And I got concerned, well, don't you support security? I support security. I do not support national suicide. That I reject. Thank you for your call. And they make it like it's a choice. It's the stark choice, either security or privacy. Bullcrap. We can't have both. We have had both. Let us go to John, Stockton, California, on the Internet. How are you, John?
I'm good, Mark. How are you?
Good. Do you know, John, for purposes of Arbitron ratings, you don't even exist?
Yeah, I've heard that before.
I just thought you'd want to know. You don't even exist. But go right ahead, my friend.
Well, first off, I wanted to give a little public service announcement for the rest of your listeners and say that there's an epidemic in this nation of massive proportions, as we call it in the medical field, cranius rectus invertus. and you are the Surgeon General for this condition. And
are you saying people have their heads up their butts?
Exactly. And you have successfully removed hundreds, if not thousands, of craniums from rectums.
Well, thank you. I hope I was wearing gloves.
I hope so, too. Secondly, I wanted to ask real quick, whatever happened to the good old days when everybody knew that the overwhelming number of politicians were corrupt and lacked virtue? Nothing has changed. They still are and still do, hence the need for even more checks and balances than the founders put in place, and hence the need for your new book. And I'm very much looking forward to it.
Well, thank you. And you're exactly right. But I'll tell you what, it's an amazing problem we have here, because most Americans do not like politicians, and yet so many of our fellow Americans want to keep empowering them.
Exactly.
And we got to straighten this out. We have to explain it. We've got to deal with it. And if we don't do it, nobody else is.
Can I ask one more quick question?
Well, of course.
Wanted to clarify, have you ever heard Obama state, as Hillary did, what his political philosophy is? She said she was a modern progressive. Has he ever stated that or anything? I mean, we know he's a statist, but...
he may have, but I haven't heard it. I mean, we can certainly draw our own conclusions, but no, I'm not sure that he has.
Because he knows that progressives have a bad name, and we can certainly attack them, because in the early days they openly had contempt for the Constitution, and they still do. Mm-hmm. The whole point of modern progressive just means that they're hiding it nowadays. They're not being as open about it.
Well, as you know, I spent a lot of time in Ameritopia addressing this, and I quote Woodrow Wilson in a little-known speech that he gave, and I have an original copy of it on my dining room table, where I have stacks and stacks of other original books and research, and he made it quite clear that they have to figure out how to evade the Constitution. Now, of course, he didn't put it that way, but that's exactly what he meant. John, God bless you, my friend. Thank you for your call. We're going to keep rolling here. Barrett, New York City, the great WABC. Go.
Hello, Mark. Oh, my goodness, what an immense pleasure it is to speak with you. I didn't think I was going to get through, but this is great.
Thank you.
I mean, I could lay compliments on you all night, but that would take an hour.
No.
So,
and people, you know what? I appreciate it, but people get bored with all that. But go ahead.
They do. And people said so many nice things already that I won't repeat it. But I did just want to point out or ask you a question about the NSA, quote-unquote, phony scandal. One of many. Where is the probable cause? I mean, isn't there some constitutional protection against searches and seizures? This is clearly a seizure of information. This metadata is a private property, is it not?
Well, I've been making the point that the property is private. It belongs to these companies. The advocates for this originally thought they were clever in saying, you don't have a right to that, you don't own it, you're leasing those numbers. And I said, yes, and we're leasing them from private companies, and it belongs to them, and the government is nationalizing that information. Here's my point to you. Whether technically you need probable cause to simply collect this information or not is quite beside the point in my view. I don't want my government doing this, period. And this has nothing to do with national security. The idea that you collect all these phone numbers, millions and millions and millions of them, more than there are people in this country, and you're tracking calls that people make, I mean, you're talking about trillions of bits of information, and that somehow that's going to help you find the terrorist is absurd. It's got it ass backwards. You need to focus in on a possible situation and then go to the mass data, go to these private companies, and go to them with a warrant or whatever you're going to go to them with, but some kind of oversight, and that's how you get the information. And they cannot point to examples, and they've tried, and they failed. They cannot point to examples where this program has protected America. And I can point to example after example where failure to secure the border has resulted in the death of Americans, either criminal activity or terrorist activity, where failure to monitor visas has done the same thing, where failure to profile properly has done the same thing, and they don't care.
They don't care.
No, they don't.
No, but these are all phony scandals.
Yeah, all right, my friend. Thank you for your call. Mike, Juneau, Alaska, the great KJNO. How are you, sir?
I am doing great, Mark. Honored to speak to you.
Well, it's my pleasure. The great state from where a tremendous person comes from, our friend Sarah Palin. Go right ahead.
Yeah, but we need to find us a couple Ted Cruzes and take care of the two we got in there now.
Yeah, you've got a few losers there. There's no question about that.
Hey, real quick, I just want to say I love Liberty and Tyranny, but I'm really looking forward to your new book because we kind of feel a little impotent up here because we pretty much vote red and doesn't feel like we can go out and really sway any opinions. But, boy, this concept you got going, I am excited about it because it's something I can go start pushing my people up here to try and get Alaska to be the first state.
Comes right out of the Constitution. No, you go right ahead. Thank you.
Okay, well, I've been thinking about this Keystone Pipeline, and it's pretty obvious from the last couple of days that Obama's probably going to kill that thing again. And
well, you notice how he's talking? Yeah, well, it's only 50 permanent jobs. See, he's an economic illiterate. He's an economic ignoramus. I mean, the fact of the matter is, when you build a pipeline, you have all kinds of additional economic activity that's created, right? Not just the oil, not just the steel. We've talked about this in the essay I Pencil that we've read at least 3 times on this program. All of the economic activity that creates, all the related economic activity it creates. I mean, these are guys that are talking about building bridges and building roads, and they say, well, that'll stimulate economic growth, and yet building a pipeline won't.
Well, the state of Alaska's got $40 billion in the bank because they built that pipeline. We get a check every year.
And tens of thousands of people who have jobs.
Yeah, and they pump out millions of dollars once a year in October. We get a royalty off that, and it dumps millions of dollars into our economy.
Yeah, I'm sick of Obama running around the country with his economic stupidity, but there he is. All right, my friend, I have to go. The clock has caught up with me. I wish I had more time, Juneau. You know, a quick trip to the post office is hardly ever quick, isn't it? Driving there, finding parking, it's a hassle. So do what I do. Use Stamps.com instead. Stamps.com is the quick and easy way to get postage on demand for any business, any individual. Buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter or package using your own computer and printer. And Stamps.com will even send you for free a digital scale that calculates the exact postage you need for any class of mail, wherever you're mailing it, in the country or outside the country. And you don't need one of those expensive postage meters if you have a business. You'll never waste a valuable time making trips to the post office either. I use Stamps.com. I have for years. I cannot urge you strongly enough to try it. Try it today. Stamps.com. Right now, use my name, Mark, for this special offer. A no-risk trial plus a $110 bonus offer, and that includes the digital scale and up to $55 free postage. So don't wait. Go to Stamps.com. Before you do anything else, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in Mark. That's Stamps.com. Enter Mark.
Mark Levin.
Orlando, Florida, the great WDBO country. How are you?
I'm doing great, Mark. We love your show. My husband is listening to you in front of me in the other car. Listen, you know one thing I never hear anybody address, and I really believe that this is part of the problem that we have with the media. They're all members of unions, and I think the unions are destroying this country. And if you have to be a member in the Actors Guild or people in the cameras or whatever in the media, they're all members of a union. And
well, you know what? I have to be a member of a union, AFTRA, and I despise them. But I have no control over it. I'll tell you, even more than that, because about a third of union members are actually conservative. About a third of them are actually Republicans, just so you know. I think it's more than that. I think liberals are attracted, not exclusively, are attracted to serve in government, particularly the bureaucracy. Again, I know there's conservatives there, but I'm saying overwhelmingly. And also to what I call the appendages of big government. The media really is an appendage of big government. It's protected under the First Amendment. It lives off the government like a parasite. It supports big government. And so I think in so many ways it's a quasi-government institution, not in every case, but in too many cases. And I think that's the problem. Have I stymied you with my genius? You know what? Let me just say this. I love Orlando. I love Disney World. I used to get down there a lot. I don't get down there enough because my kids are grown now, but I really do want to get back there. It's a beautiful area. You take care, Mary, and we're glad to be with our affiliate WDBO there. Great station. How much time do I have? Lee, Arkansas, quickly. We're running out of time. Go.
Well, I want to thank you for the job you're doing. You do an excellent job. I think you ought to run for president because I'd vote for you.
Well, that would be about 12 of you.
And,
thank you.
That'd be a lot more than that. And you need to have Sarah Palin run with you as your partner there because, for one, she's a whole lot better looking than Hillary is. I'd rather look at her for 4 years than I would Hillary. No, but why I called is...
You're not kidding.
You know, Obama's saying, they need to double that... your minimum wage.
You know what, Mister? Hold on. I'd almost rather look at Bill than Hillary, Mr. Producer. Is something wrong with me? Go ahead, Lee. Go ahead.
No comment. Yes. He's saying that, double the minimum wage. Is he absolutely nuts?
Yes, they are. Absolutely nuts. They don't give a damn. Lee, thanks for your call, man. That music means I have to go. You just double the minimum wage? And what the hell is it the government's business anyway? I'm sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, we salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters and emergency personnel, and you, my beloved audience. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow, America. I'm Mark Levin.